Hey everybody, and welcome to TPG's world. It's me, TPG, and I am here with the Will and Grace review. Now, as you know, I'm 3 episodes behind, so I'm going to talk about 2 of the episodes and then go into the current episode. 2 weeks ago, the episode was basically about Will and Grace were both dating the same guy. It was probably my least favorite episode. I didn't find it as humorous as others. Basically, the guy was a cook, a big famous cook, and they ended up dating him, and it was just kind of a little bit of a, it was alright. Last week's episode was about their friend Larry, and many of you remember Larry, and he had a boyfriend, I think his name is Joe, and they were the old friends of Will and Grace from the season from years ago, when the show was on 11 years ago, and they were their friends and always played games and stuff with them. Well, in this one, it was basically about how Will had, and Grace, were playing games with them, and they were showing pictures of their child and everything, and Larry was kind of going through the empty nest syndrome, so Grace gave him a job at her company to kind of get him through all of it, and you basically, it's revealed to Grace that Larry has kind of crushed on Will a little bit, and it was a little bit of mistaken things, and Will said a few things, and, it got kind of mistaken around, so that's basically what happened in that episode. It basically ended up that Larry realized he did love his lover, and Will was just his best friend, and he was just trying to find something he was missing, which he really had all along at home. Now, the new episode, which aired last night, was probably one of my favorites in a while. I love it. First of all, it brought back Vince, which Vince was, to me, of all the seasons that in the past, was Will's best boyfriend. He was the cop. I don't know how many of you remember him. He was a little bit dingy. Love him. Love the actor that plays him. Just such a great character, and I was really hoping they'd bring Vince back. So basically, this episode starts off, and Jack comes in, and he's talking about the Bible, and he brings up some funny, gay references, and of course they use some gay things like calling, Grace Mary Magdalene and things like that. But then you find out that Will is actually going to have breakfast with his ex-lover Vince, and so in my heart, my heart's pounding, oh, maybe they're going to get back together or whatever. And then Karen comes in, and she's got this monkey on her back, and she says that she's doing some kind of scavenger hunt. She's trying to beat somebody in a scavenger hunt, and all she needs is a police badge. So it flashes back to Will having a breakfast with Vince, and they're talking, and of course Will is, nitpicking him to death, just blah, 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 nitpicking, and finally Vince tells Will that he's getting married, and it just kind of takes Will aback. And then after he leaves, you find out from the next scene with Will and Grace that Vince had broke up with Will because he told Will that he basically he had commitment issues and couldn't be with Will, and so Will's trying to figure out how, after he dated someone for 9 months, he could be with getting married. So they all are invited to the wedding, and of course Will doesn't really know if he wants to go, and Grace tells him the best thing he could do is stay home. So the next scene you see is Jack and Karen and Grace, and they're all at the wedding. And Jack is trying to scope out with Grace all of the cops as to who's gay and who's not. And one of the funniest things is he goes up and he asks, what their favorite TV show is. And they're like, The Wire, The Wire, The Wire. And one little tiny cop with a beard, says, oh, this is us. And so Jack's like, come with me. So he takes him away. And Karen is so busy trying to scope the room to find her police badge because she wants to beat this person. She calls him on the phone and everything, and she's going to win this scavenger hunt. So then all of a sudden Will shows up at the wedding, and he is very, very devastated. He doesn't understand what's going on. He doesn't really like the guy that Vince is going to marry, this, that, and the other. He doesn't understand why he's not as good. So you find the next scene, you see Jack comes out of the bathroom with this cop guy, and you find out they get to talking, and Jack's trying to get the guy to go on and realize that it was just a one-time hookup, and the guy's like, but I love you, I've never done anything with a guy. And Jack's like, oh God. And so the guy's like, I love you, and and Jack's trying to get him away and all that stuff. Kind of stuff. As usual, my phone rings. So then it goes back to Will and Grace again, and they're still talking about it, and then all of a sudden Vince comes over and he starts talking to Will, and Will is nitpicking, and all of a sudden he gets really mad at Will, and he tells Will that the reason that they broke up wasn't because he had commitment issues. It was because Will was always nitpicking him, and that Will always made him feel bad, and like he wasn't good enough for Will, and that, you know, it drove him crazy, and that's why he broke up with Will, was because he just couldn't, he felt like Will never loved him and that it was never good. And this kind of breaks Will's heart really bad. So the next scene you see is Jack is standing there and he's eating, and this big woman comes up to him and she's talking about how she's Vince's cousin, and he's like, oh yeah, you're the girl that does all the Saturday Night Live skits. And she's like, yeah. And she says, let me meet my husband. And all of a sudden the little tiny cop walks over, and it's the same cop that just had been with Jack in the bathroom. So it's kind of funny. And she's like talking about how she has this cabin in the Poconos that she can't go to, and she's been trying to get her husband for a while to meet other men to be friends with and things like that, and that him and Jack should go to this Poconos thing together. And Jack's like, no, no, no. And the guy's like, yes, 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 yes. No, 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 yes, yes, yes. It was this kind of back and forth thing. And so then it flashes back to after the wedding, and you've met, you know, Vince's fiance and everything, and they're going to do a toast, and Will stands up and he basically does this toast about how he's sorry for all he ever did, and that he was, you know, he really did care about Vince, and he loved him and all this kind of stuff. And then Grace stands up and she's trying to do a toast, and she's like, Will, it's not your fault, blah 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 blah. And then she turns to the bride, I mean to the groom, and the groom is like, Mazel Tov. And then you know, Will stands up again and he says something else to Vince, and he says that. And then Jack stands up and he's like, look, you know, the best way to solve this is if you're going to be a gay cop and you're going to try to mess around, don't fall in love, don't fall in love, don't fall in love. That's not what you're supposed to do. And then finally Vince stands up and he tells, you know, he starts talking, and he makes this big speech about how, you know, he loved Will, and that Will was his first love, basically, and that he'll always be special to him. And then he turns to his current husband and he says, I don't know why I'm trying to impress you, you have 3 of your exes here. So that was a cute scene. And then the ending of it was basically Will was in the bathroom and Vince comes in and he says he wanted to talk to him for a minute, and tells him he's scared, he doesn't know if he made the right thing. And Will's like, I don't know what to tell you. And he says, please tell me something. That's what you do, Will. You always tell me if I do the right thing. And so Will tells him that he believes that he did, and that he always made the right choices. And Vince hugs him and puts his arms around him and tells him that he cares about him, and that even though that they weren't married and that he never made that step with Vince, that he would always consider Will his ex-husband, which was so touching because I love him. I was very sad though because I wanted them to get together. And then right at the very end, you hear 2 people in the bathroom in the stall making noise, and Vince is like, who's in here? Cops. And he kicks the door in, and you see Jack and the little cop, and they go running out. That's how the episode ended. So basically that was Will and Grace this week. I loved it. I thought it was really funny. The jokes were very crisp. One of the things that my roommate and I were talking about Will and Grace that we love the most is that the jokes are so great, and they always go full circle. You know, they stay constant through the whole show, and they go full circle. So that was very, very good. I just loved it. I was very sad though because I really love Vince, and I was hoping he'd get back with Will because I love that those 2 together. I think they complement each other so well, and so that really kind of made me sad a little bit. But that is the Will and Grace review for the last 3 episodes, guys. I apologize. I will be on target next week when it comes on Thursday. But I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Make sure you like it. Hit the like button below. Make sure you leave comments. Make sure you share it on Facebook or Twitter or whatever you want to share it on, any kind of social media. And thank you so much for watching my Will and Grace reviews. Remember, hating is a disease. Some folks need to get well soon. Take care. Bye.